everybody, and welcome to my lorry tour vlog.
Talk to me, baby, I've been waiting for a lifetime. Just keep on fading in all these photos, caught in the memories and captured in the highlights. Just keep on wasting. Glass after glass, I keep hoping you'll come around. Drowning our fights in whatever can be found, 'cause I've given in to all my demons lately.
Hey guys, welcome to my lorry vlog. As I've already said, I just wanted to sit down with you before I gave you a proper tour, and we're sat at the bench seat like so, because I wanted to like preempt this video, intro this video with I just wanted to talk to you about our previous transport, because I know it's so easy to click onto YouTube and watch so many of these lorry tours where the lorries are so beautiful and the people are so lucky to have them, and it's very, very easy just to assume that they've just been given it on a plate. And yeah, some people might have, and good for them, lucky them. But I wanted to talk you through my previous lorry transport and how like my rise with horses has gone. I know I'm super privileged just to be able to sit on a horse. I had to beg for riding lessons for my 7th birthday, so we'll not get into that one now, but I'm gonna go find some pictures and I can overlay them into this. But we started off with, I don't know, I'll have to find out the price and I'll pop it in. I think it was like £500 little rear and load trailer from Rice. So well built trailer, but you know, very, very old, towed by, I think it was a K-Reg Jeep Cherokee, and Mum and Dad had to completely strip out the floor because it was rotten and put in a new floor, put new tyres on it, paint it because it was in a state, to say the least. And that was our first bit of transport. And you know, I was enviously looking on at everybody with a Bateson trailer or a little Chevelle Liberty or all of those. I'm a bit of a car freak, lorry freak, you know, like vehicles, like going fast. And you know, even little Evie was looking on enviously. But it was something that my parents drilled into me like very early on, like how privileged I am to be out and about, to be going to pony club, to going to competitions, having my own lone pony at the stage. And we had that lovely trailer and it did us well. We then progressed to a lovely red Eiffel Williams, and that really stood us in good stead. I love that trailer. We sold it to somebody local when we bought our lorry prior to this. And then, this isn't bragging, I'm just trying to tell you, you know, you don't just suddenly wake up one day and you have a 7.5 ton lorry with living, etc. So we did a lot with that. I was eventing. I think I pretty much did most of my under 18 eventing from that, taking 2 horses out, stacking boxes in, because there's so much equipment when you go eventing, let alone when you take 2, like 4 saddles to start off with, if you're lucky enough to have a dressage saddle and a jump saddle for each horse. So yeah, we lived with that for ages and absolutely adored it. And then Mum was just really, really needing somewhere to sit that wasn't the driver's seat when we were doing the really long days out eventing. You know how it is when you get a horrible rainy day, and it was really, really hard work storing everything. But we knew how ridiculously expensive a lorry is. It costs a lot to get them plated. They cost a lot to buy. But we stumbled upon a little H-Reg DAF lorry, and it was ancient when we bought it as well, for a very reasonable price. Cost less than the Eiffel Williams trailer, and that was before trailer prices went ridiculously high. And we managed to keep the trailer and the lorry, so we just sort of had a play to see whatever we liked it or not, because it was an absolute steal. It was a beautiful little lorry. It wasn't the easiest. Poor mum hasn't driven a lorry, could drive on grandfather rights, grandmother rights, whatever you want to call it. And we had some nerve-wracking rides out while she got used to it, just going out without the horses in. I just want to add in, guys, that I was a lot luckier than mum, and I actually was able to take training and a test, which was a lot less nerve-wracking for me than her having to literally learn on the go. So I've got my HGV test, so I can technically drive any weight of lorry as long as it doesn't bend in the middle, because I haven't got my articulated. So we share the driving, although to be honest, I think mum quite likes having chauffeur duty. And then I think I had an issue with the clutch, so changing gears was nerve-wracking to say the least. I do vaguely remember going to a dressage competition where there was a junction on a hill start, and I'd taken like my first ever boyfriend with me and whatever, and he was quite into his cars as well and stuff. And I'm there working the handbrake while mum tries to get the gears because the clutch was playing up, which is quite funny. But she lasted a few years, and then the chassis rotted. It was I want to say it was a little Leyland DAF, and that was the thing that did tend to go with them. So, you know, she ended up going on the scrap heap, but we'd kept our trailer, so then we carried on with the trailer for a few more years. And then my parents split up just over 5 years ago, and I promptly broke my ankle afterwards, which wasn't very fair on my mother because I stopped earning money and had to defer uni for a year, but that's another story. Later on, I think it was like 2018, mum's 4x4 car broke down and we didn't have a tow vehicle anymore. So we actually were there like stuck in between a rock and a hard place, because actually an older lorry costs less than a decent tow vehicle, and my horses are quite big, so we needed the full 3.5 ton towing ability. So we went and purchased our last lorry, which was lovely R-Reg DAF. Quite a big lorry. Like if you saw it, you would have been questioning whether it was 7.5 ton or a HGV. I think she was like the biggest dimensions you could get for a 7.5 ton. And we adored that lorry, and it was mum's first big purchase after the split. So all along with this, it's my parents that have carried me through with those lorries. And we had her and we were running her and we absolutely adored her. And then just over a year ago, we chucked her through her plating and she went through fine, but it had just got to the stage where the mechanic said, you want to start thinking of the future. She's worth quite a bit now, as she is, and we made a profit on her, managed to make a £2,000 profit on her despite having her for 4 years. He said, but the problem is, like, they're starting to get to the age where the parts are obsolete, so then it's a bit harder to start repairing them if stuff goes wrong. So with that, he turned around and suggested that we went and bought a lorry, which sort of sent mum and I both into a spin, because lorries are not cheap, and we loved that lorry and we trusted it, and we only ever had to call breakout down once, and it was because a wire had disconnected, and that was literally it. It was a simple fix. So then we went out looking for lorries, and I tell you guys, if you've ever been lorry shopping, I think it's the worst thing ever, because it's not like cars where you have like a standardized this is a Ford Focus and this is what you get with this class of Ford Focus. You can have everything. People make them themselves. They have this, that and the other. So we went out looking for something a little bit younger. So we were on an R-Reg, which I think is a 1998, and we were thinking we might be able to afford hopefully like a 2002, 2003. We went out horse shopping the weekend after I'd managed to sell our lorry, and oh my goodness, it was horrific. There was nothing. We wanted to go buy our lorry back. We didn't like anything. And then I managed to stumble across on this one, and this was the first lorry that I was going to contribute to financially, so we had to extend our budget, but we did manage to get it. And she is a 2008, so we're hoping we'll have to do less switches in between because we've managed to get a much younger lorry. But I just wanted to give you that brief overview to say you don't just land on a lorry like this necessarily. We've gone halfsies on it, and I fully intend on paying Mum back for her half as soon as I can afford to, because, you know, it's for my sport. It's her hobby too, but by the same token, it's my enjoyment. I'm the person dragging everybody all across the country to go eventing and stuff. So I just kind of wanted to say, you know, I don't take it for granted. Our thing has always been, we have always turned around and said, it's not what you pull up in, it's what you pull out. And as long as you are safe getting there, it really, really doesn't matter. There's so many things you can do, like storage tips that you can put. I used to have like plastic stacking boxes that I put in the car, and I had an order that I stacked it all in, and there's so many things you can do with that. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the tour. So now we've done that little history of transport, I've come back outside to show you the lorry from scratch, and I think it makes sense to start outdoors. So welcome to the cab. I am sat in the driver's seat currently. As you may have noticed, if you know about lorries, our lovely Delilah, that is her name. So the first lorry was Dora the Explorer. Second one was Dolly Daystream, and now we have Delilah Daff. In the cab, it's very, very luxurious in comparison to our old lorries. Very high tech. We have a radio even. And this also has the function to ring people, although I prefer to use my AirPods. We have a camera here that goes on for reversing and for on the horse area while we're traveling. Much more high tech than any other lorry we've ever had, including cruise control. And then there's 2 seats there, some shades, my chargers, and I was going to give it a good clean. Loads of storage up here. I was going to give it a good clean, but then I thought, you know, we're real life here, guys. We might as well show real life with the lorry. So this is literally seeing our lorry in working order. We went out competing on Sunday with her, and we are going out competing on Saturday again. I really love the tack lockers on this lorry. We have storage. This goes under the seat in the horse area, the living even, and we store my mountain block and extra seating. There's a spare fly mask and some other kit in here. So that's just sort of like your extra bits and bobs. Down here, that's where I can open up for fuel and AdBlue. We will go into the living in a second. And then we have these tack lockers. So this is a little one, and like I say, I've done it in perfect working order. I've added these little touch lights for handy for when we're out in the evening. And then in here I have plaiting equipment, any first aid bits that are like regularly used, hoof oil, sprays, most important treats, spare bandages, and then when I'm eventing, my boots go here and my stud kit sits up here, like the treats move over. And we have a grooming kit, and this is a really handy piece for your studs so that you don't lose them. It's magnetic. So then moving on to here. Oh, and we put the shelf in as well when we first got it. Let's switch the light off. When we first got it, so we could store extra stuff in there. Then we go into the main tack locker. And I'll just open her up for you. So this is our main tack locker. It's a narrow locker at the top, so there's not as much space going into the horse area. You'll see later. It's only about a bit more than my hand wide. But then in the skirt part, it steps in, which is enough to fit my saddles in. I wasn't sure if they were going to fit or not, but they actually fit really well, much better than my old Lorry's lockers. So then I have a bag with my white numbers in, 2 bridle racks, but I can actually, if I had more, I could hang a bridle there and a bridle there. I hang my stirrups on these because my stirrups come off my saddle. Always take spare reins with me. A little chain and a lead rope in case we've got 2 horses and mum holds on to one, although they're not the best behaved for that. Spare girth, because I've got a horrible habit of forgetting them. These are just little roundings, so if I've got like a universal bit and I want to make it less strong, I can pop them on. These we keep in here, they're rags and a spray, are to clean in the horse area where they've snotted everywhere. And then a few spare brushing boots and some cold water boots. So these just live in here. Okay, so my last skirt / tack locker is here, and this is where I put any of my cold water and my buckets, and there's a little bit of recovery mesh in there. I have lots of buckets with me, and then sponge and sweat scraper. This is a really handy tool. It's called an Andes. Can you see that? Yeah. £30 on Amazon, and it turns your bucket of water into a shower for your horse. So if you want spoiled horses and you don't want to sponge off, that's a piece of kit for you. And then that's a cassette for the loo, how glamorous. And then these are quick looking leisure batteries for the living, gas for the hob, etc. Cab battery and hook up there, and then we have an isolator that we pop on to make sure that the battery doesn't drain. Okay, let's go into the horse area. So this is the most important area to me, as long as the chassis is sound. So when we bought our old lorry, I literally scrabbled around on my back to have a look to see if there was anything untoward underneath, and I was pushing a screwdriver in to check the floor. This one we got from a mechanic. It was the person's mechanic selling it on their behalf. He literally winched it up so we could walk underneath it and have a look. So I was able to have a good check. I'm by no means an expert, but you know, if you see a load of rust or you can feel soft spots in the floor, you then need to be considering whether you're going to need your floor replacing. The best thing to do if you're buying a lorry, but we did find it quite difficult to find someone, is to get a bit like a vetting, get a mechanic to come and do a inspection for you. So let's go into the horse area. So we replaced this ramp. It was carpet and metal rungs. I just prefer this. If you can see, even when it's damp, there's little rungs in between before these rungs, so it's a lot grippier. Nice big half doors. These bungees are to pin my petitions back. So we always shut the windows while she's being stored so that water doesn't get in, because we had to do quite a lot up on our old lorry because someone hadn't bothered doing that. As you can see, we have lovely big H petitions and sniff boards, and they just click in at the bottom like so, and the same at the top. You can release it like that and click it in like so, and the same at the back, and then these just release here. And then I always travel them with bedding because the wet can rot your floor otherwise, so we can always clean it out. Rug racks with spare rugs in, massage pad, and a backpack in case we need to take kit anywhere with us. And then we've got our hay net rings, and I just have these tie-up points. They have a quick release on both ends. I have found personally that the times I've had a horse pulling back, I have not been able to reach the bit that attaches to their chin because they've been in too much of a panic. The only place I've been able to reach is here. So that's why I like the quick release at either end, so that I can just grab whatever. It's lovely and spacious in here. We're looking for good headroom, and I know I'm short, but that is very good. You can see on these Tack lockers here, they're not the normal width. Some people don't like Tack lockers because their horses climb on them. I actually really like being able to feed my horses a little bit of breakfast on them, and they sort of seem to rest it. It's a bit of something to lean up against without their head hitting the wall. So it's personal preference. This end, we don't tend to use this end partition. As a rule, we only really tend to have one horse going out at a time. But if we do have to, we'll use the other two ends. So we have more chairs for when my lovely supporters come and we have a nice jolly out. And then we also have a big icebox here, which is really handy. We do have a freezer, but it's quite small, so it's a lot easier. The other thing that I really like about this is there's space for me to climb through, but these are super sturdy, so that if the horses are traveling together, they're not going to get through to each other. The one thing I would say about H petitions is you have a lot less adjustment compared to telescopics. So I always liked the idea of the H petitions because they're so sturdy. As you can see, they're really, you would hope that something wouldn't come over it, but due to the length of these, like this is the most herringboned I can get this without moving the back end. So it works for my horses, but it's not an instant change if you want to make it longer, if that makes sense, because you've got to literally move the back end and then the front end to get the change, and then make sure that you've got your sniff board in the right place on these holes. So it's always a consideration if you've got the choice. I think I would probably actually in future turn around and say I would have telescopics over H petitions if I were building a lorry. Not that I'm complaining about mine, it's just an observation that I've now had. Okay then, final bit, let's go and say hello to Delilah's living. So we have this little snazzy step that pulls out, and then these internal steps. As you'll be aware, hello ponies, into the horse area. These are our light switches. I added this to it, a nice little whip rack, which just has a selection. It's got a slightly flappy one, bats which are legal for BS, not that I'm registered yet, and a schooling whip, just in case anyone's feeling lazy. We added in this mirror and I absolutely love it. Oh, hi. And it just adds a little bit, and this is a really good spot for me to get ready for competitions. Then we have this drawer, so cutlery, everything you really need, chargers, etc., sun cream, I think that's hoof balm, plasters, painkillers. The amount of times you hurt yourself with horses, it's you know how it is. Right, I don't know what state this cupboard's in. Not terrible. I've obviously just shoved my boots back in. So here is our boot cupboard. We've got a first aid kit, Mum's binoculars so she can see me when I'm going cross country, and then brown boots. These are my old black boots, spares, and then my new black boots, which I need to clear a spot for. When we're on hookup, we're able to use the charger. I think that's the water heater. Mum's more au fait with the living. Nice little bench and tons of storage. That's what I love about this. We've got loads of storage. So many snacks. The snacks are important. I don't think there's much left on the chocolate front. Got a few. And then our coffee station. This is a really clever addition. See how that like slots in? So the mugs are able to sit in there. This is our fridge. So there's plenty of space in there really. certainly enough space for a G&T, or by the looks of it, lots of water bottles. Where I mentioned the freezer, it's dinky, got more water bottles in it. Never be without water, guys. And then we've got a hob and oven. Just a nice little sink. This lifts up like so. And like I say, she's not spotless. I've not done a big clean. So another shelf we put in is up here. That's just got the dog's spare coats in. And then this is where I store my hats. So that's my fixed peak hat. And then my cross-country hat is back there. Oops. And then we go down into the wardrobe. And I just keep my show jackets, fly ears. We used those on Donut at his last event. Body protector, air jacket, and all the kit I need basically. So this interestingly opens up, and that's where our isolator is and a spare stool. But this is how I organise. If you've not noticed, I like everything to be quite organised. So my gloves are here. These are my ones that I've been using a lot lately. Bridle numbers for BD. Stopwatch. More gloves and stocks. I think I've got that one and an orange one for when I wear a tweed. And then this, if I am clever, has my lovely vintage stock pin that my dad bought me with my birthstone in it. And I'm not sure what's in here. I think there might be spares. Ooh, BD. Well, that's from when I used to do like young riders stuff. And then a bit of pony club and trinkets. And then hair nets and hair bobbles. You can never have too many of those, guys, can you? So, and then some safety pins. So yeah, these all live in here so that I can then just grab them out and get ready fairly quickly. And then what else do I have? I have a tub of Spurs. My favourite ones are just these teeny tiny little ones, which I need to give a clean. Sorry guys, but real life here. But I do have a range up to fairly big ones from when I was riding a bigger, lazier horse. I don't tend to ride in Spurs at home, but I find it really good. They're a good safety net when I'm out competing, especially if you're on the cross country. You can choose to use the side of your foot and not use your spare, or if they're not listening, a quick prod is sometimes a lot better than endless snagging and kicking. So that's why the Spurs tend to live in the lorry, to be fair, because everybody is fairly off the leg. Just having a look at what else is in there. So last thing in here is, ooh, I think I'd lost those. I'll put them away in a sec. What have we got here? Mirror. That can go home now. That was from before we had that, so I could check I'd got my stock on okay. Because there is a mirror here, but if you look, I couldn't see my stock very well. I had to go on my tiptoes. Give that a clean at some point. So got a bit of boot polish, tack cleaner type stuff. So we'll put that back in there. I'm not sure what we're looking at here. My makeup! I'd wondered where that had gone. Oh goodness, that's been sat there a while. So, and that's about that in my wardrobe. I do have a nice orange coat. I love that. It's a Musto coat. So nice, so good for if it's chucking it down out on the cross country course. Some spare breeches. Oh, that's my Pony Club A-test badge. Yeah, and then we have these handy little hooks. This isn't usually here, that's my yard one, and blinds around the place. And then there's Luton, so let's go take a look. So the Luton is a lot less spacious than our old lorry. I did bang my head a few times at camp. This is a handy little ladder to climb up and down safely. And then we keep the bed made up in case we ever need it. That's the dog bed. But there's cute little windows. And then we have some reading lights if they want to play ball. There we go. So I don't know if that one, there we go, we're working, which is lovely because otherwise your light switches are miles over there and then you have to navigate a ladder. And it's a little bit like an extreme sport, I must say, but fairly cozy Luton, a little bit of space to put your book or your phone or whatever, and the handy lights. Someone's really thought about this, which I think is lovely. Okay, so then if you're in here and you're getting changed, you can just pop that down. It's very blue in here. We do intend on changing the blinds because she is really rather blue. Now, this is one of my favourite parts of the lorry. See these little USB ports? They are absolute lifesavers. We just pop our phones on charge and it's so good. And it's not like using the USB on the cigarette lighter in the cab. We're not worrying about running the cab battery down because this is on the living batteries, so they're completely separate. So it is very useful because that one time that a wire got disconnected on our old lorry was at the very end of a long day of venting, and of course nobody had any phone charge. We had to wait for hours, and we were just sat trying to hope that our phones didn't die. So yeah, really handy tool. Of course, we added in our little clock, and then I think the very last thing is not so glam, not so exciting to show you, is the shower. So into the bathroom we go. So we have a little loo and we have a shower. Now I adore this shower because remember the water heater? We can get hot water out of the shower for Queen Maggie, King Donut and King Titan. We've added these hooks. It's useful to be able to pop your coat out of the way and it's less likely to make the room damp. Little window, saddle rack for when we're getting tack ready, emergency towels in case I've taken a dunking, and this is how you use the shower. Sorry it's not spotless, guys. You just take that away and then you've got a drain, and then a bit more cleaning equipment for looking after the lorry. That's the tap for the shower, another little mirror, and then a few toiletries. I think there's some shampoo ever prepared in case we take a dunking. I have fallen off in the water out cross country before. It happens, guys. So we might as well be prepared. And speaking of being prepared, I just realised I had forgotten to show you underneath the sink. Not the most organised spot, but actually we do know where everything is. A few more cleaning equipment. Kettle, very important. And then this box here, I'm not going to get it out because it's quite heavy. That box contains a full first aid kit. It has like everything that you might need in an emergency short of having a vet with you, including a farrier's kit to help you remove a shoe, etc. And I think that is it. So I hope you enjoyed my whistle stop tour of Delilah Daff. If you did like it, give us a thumbs up, like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the future with more vlogs. See you later.